So here's an old classic horror movie that I'd like to share with you guys. I'm actually pretty nostalgic for. I used to watch this all the time as a kid. Is the 1987 The Gate. And yeah, I used to watch this all the time as a kid, and back then it used to kind of blow my mind. It used to freak me out. I thought the monsters and the demons were terrifying, at least as a kid. But pretty much watching this in recent years as an adult, not so much. In fact, they look goofy and I kind of make fun of them, but like, I don't want to make that sound like a bad thing, because I actually do think this is a good movie. And another thing about this movie is, like, you know how some movies, they age really well, like say for example Jurassic Park, or oh, here's a good one, The Thing, that came out in '82. That was 5 years before this movie, that actually holds up really well as far as the special effects and whatnot, right? It ages well. This one, not as much. It actually shows its age quite a bit. You can tell this movie was definitely filmed in the 80s, and I don't want to make that sound like a bad thing, because it is a good movie. I think it's definitely a good classic. For those of you that have never seen this movie, you should check it out at least one time. One negative thing I will say though about this movie is, like, it does start off really slow, like really slow. Like, you don't really get much action until like the second half of the movie. So like, really, like 50 plus minutes in, you have to wait until something happens. So it definitely starts off really slow. But like, one thing I'm pretty impressed is the overall cast, the actors. This movie basically focuses on these three kids. There's this kid named Glenn. He has a sister named Alexandra, I believe, and then he has a friend named Terry. And usually, like, when kids are like the main star of the movie, right, you're kind of like holding your breath, like, oh, okay, they're not going to be the reason why the movie's good. But actually, I thought they've done a pretty good job. I'm actually pretty impressed with all three of their performances. You don't really see too much of the adult characters in this movie, like the very beginning, the parents, like small segments. And what happens to the parents is, like, they go on like a vacation trip or whatever, they go somewhere, and so Glenn's sister Alexandra is in charge to babysit. So basically it's just the three kids. And as far as the premise, there's not much to say. It's basically like, they have this big hole in their backyard, and it's basically a gate to like hell, and it's like demons and whatnot, and basically generic, right? But that's fine as long as it's entertaining and well done enough. And that's another thing, is like, it's not just the horror, even though I kind of look at it as goofy horror now. It does have its funny moments. Especially like Alexandra's one like friend. She has like this weird hairdo, and it's kind of like, again, like, that's definitely 80s, but it's like for real. Nice hairdo. And yeah, I'll show you some funny clips.
Who's that? Well, there's one way to find out. Demons aren't gonna ring the doorbell. Worse, police sisters. What are you doing? Probably fagging off. What'd you do to your face?
None of your beeswax, Four Eyes.
I think it's a definite improvement. Hey, eat your feet, dwarf.
So even though this movie starts out extremely slow, it really does pick up in the second half, and you get to see all sorts of monsters. And even though this movie shows its age, it doesn't age well. I'm still pretty impressed with the special effects and the practical effects. I thought they did a good job with that. And also things like when the telephone mutilated, I thought that was really cool. But yeah, don't get me wrong, it's nothing like The Thing that came out 5 years before this, but yeah, I'm still pretty impressed with this movie, considering. Alright guys, so I'm going to go ahead and go to my final verdict. So back then, I would have easily given this movie an 8 out of 10, which is very good. And now, because it doesn't age well, it definitely shows its age quite a bit. It's nothing like The Thing or like Alien that came out way before this. I'm going to drop my score down to a 7 out of 10, which is still good, and I do highly recommend this movie. And you know what? All I can say about this movie is like, it's just one of those old classic horror movies that you'll have a good time with. It has its funny moments, and I was really impressed with the kid actors. I thought their performances were very good, and it really had to be in order for this movie to, for me, hold a 7 out of 10, because like I mentioned earlier, the first half of this movie, you know, you don't get much of anything except these kids, and they really did a good job keeping at least me engaged and carrying the movie all the way up till like you actually get the stuff that you've been waiting for. So yeah, even though like the special effects and the practical effects show their age, I still am pretty impressed by it. I have a lot of respect for these kind of movies. So, and I'm not just saying that because I'm, you know, being biased because I grew up with this movie. But yeah, I do highly recommend it. 7 out of 10. And yeah, guys, until next time, happy Halloween.